Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Scholar with Mr. B. I'm Mr. B. Today we're changing the spark plugs in this 2017 Volkswagen Jetta GLI. It's Mark 6.5, has a 2.0 turbocharged direct injection TFSI engine, and we are putting 4 spark plugs in because it has reached the threshold of 80,000 miles and it's just time to do it. So normally this vehicle will get an 80,000 mile checkup, which is spark plugs, cabin air filter, tire rotation, oil change, all that other stuff. And I have some of those videos and I will put them down in the description that shows you how to do all the stuff that will be an 80,000 mile service. The only thing I don't have is the DSG service. If you have a DSG car, you need to go ahead and replace the DSG fluid at this time. And since mine's manual transmission, I haven't made a video on DSG service yet. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here's the things we're going to need. We're going to need a 3/8 drive ratchet. We need an extension, a 5/8 or 16 millimeter spark plug socket. You're going to need some spark plugs, of course, a torque wrench if you are planning to torque them, and some anti-seize, and of course a 10 millimeter to go ahead and get the coils off. And I'm using this Milwaukee Fuel ratchet. I'm just using that for the 10 millimeter bolts to hold the coil on. I am not going to use this for either removing or putting in the spark plugs. You never want to use power tools when taking out or putting in spark plugs. So let's go over here to the car and see what we got. Okay, we've got our hood popped and our trusty nightstick under hood light on for visibility. Just going to go ahead and take this engine cover off. Should just pull straight up. And this is cylinders 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll have ground straps that go to here that we need to go ahead and take off. And this is a connection right here that we also need to take off to move this off of the coils. So we'll go ahead and do that. So you'll just push these out of the way. We'll take these off here. Okay, after you get the bolts and the ground wires off, you'll remove this just one at a time. You'll press this in and pull out. If they get stuck, just be careful and work with them. You don't want to break these. One of the biggest things with misfires with these Volkswagens is these connectors will go bad and they won't lock into this, and you'll lose your power going to your coils and you'll end up with a misfire. And so be careful with these connectors. So after that, we'll just take these right here and gently just kind of shake them a little bit, and they should pull right out. And what I normally do is I lay them in line so they go right back where they came from. Just want to easy, gently pull on these. You don't want to rip the boots. These boots aren't replaceable. You just have to buy the whole coil. Now, just like that. And we're wanting to check and make sure that these holes right here aren't filled with oil. You may get a little seepage, a little stickiness on these. That's okay, but you don't want to pull this out and it be like another dipstick to the car, okay? So if you see oil down there, your valve cover is leaking into these holes. That can also cause a misfire, okay? Another thing, before I take these plugs out, I want to make sure that this engine is at room temperature, okay? Because the threads in these spark plugs are steel and the threads going into the engine are aluminum, it can pull the threads out if they're hot. So I need to let this cool down. I don't want to do this while it's hot. And remove them basically at room temperature. Now we're going to get our socket and our extension. You want to do this by hand, gently. They should come right out. You want to do all 4 of these. So after I take the spark plugs out, I lay them out. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to inspect these. And these actually look really good. I mean, obviously they've got a little wear to them. But these look pretty good. And I don't see really, what we're really looking for is that light ashy gray color. Right there is fine. And I want them to look about the same. That is going to tell me that at least the engine is running in each cylinder fairly similar to the next. And so let's go ahead and get the new ones ready. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our new spark plug and we're going to take some of this anti-seize, and you don't got to get this big old bottle of it. And in fact, they sell for little to no money, you know, the little ketchup packets full of this. And then we're just going to lightly run a little bit down the threads. And I normally do 2 sides. It's kind of hard holding the camera and doing this. Just run a little bit down one side and a little bit down the other, and just kind of spread it out with your fingers. And that way when we're putting this back in, the 2 dissimilar metals is not going to have a problem and bond to each other, so we won't be able to get them out next time. You don't want to put too much, just enough to make sure that your threads aren't going to seize inside that cylinder head. Okay, now I've gently dropped these back into the cylinders, and what I'm wanting to do is just go in with my hands and tighten these down, thread them all the way in by hand. If you feel any resistance, if you feel like it's getting too tight too soon, then definitely don't keep going. Pull back out, see if maybe you can realign it and go back in. Okay, now that we have them threaded in by hand, you've got 2 choices. You can either thread them in by hand. As soon as they hit the bottom, you can turn them about a 1/4 turn, which is what normally people do. However, to be more accurate, you need to properly torque them down. They torque down to 18 foot-pounds or 25 Newton meters. So we'll use our torque wrench. And click away. I will drop our coils back in. What I normally like to do is go ahead and get these situated close to where they're supposed to be going plug-wise. Again, be careful with these. Push these down. You don't have to grease these up. Don't put any dielectric grease in here or anything. Okay? Make sure you hear the snap. You click these in. Okay? Now we're going to go ahead and put our bolts in. We put on our engine cover and we'll be done. Okay, so that's it. This is a very easy job. Anybody can really do this. You know, just go to your parts department, buy your correct spark plugs and put them in. They don't need to be regapped. or anything like that. They're straight out of the box. They should be good to go. And if you learn anything, please give me a like and of course subscribe to the channel. I'm adding some more Mark 6 content here pretty soon. I'm going to be looking at the timing chain on this vehicle and maybe replacing the clutch and cleaning the intake valves, which is all three big problems on the Mark 6 and Mark 7 platform. So don't forget to like and subscribe for that. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, VK if you're in Eastern Europe. Look me up there, Auto Scholar with Mr. B. And we'll see you next time on Auto Scholar with Mr. B.